Mike's first remembrance of music was the melodic sonnet voice of his mother, for she was one who bequeathed lullabies. As a toddler, the sound of her voice provided a sense of comfort and security in his newfound existence. As he proceeded through adolescence, he found an almost surreptitious aspect to the harmonious meaning of music, an artistic paint to score the canvas of the melodic world and at the same time to underscore events and project stargazing visions. There was unspoken adventure in music. He was able to find it in movies, the radio broadcast, the concert hall, a vitality of inspiration to those who understood its prevalence and meaning. Burkhalter music curriculum was made up of several affiliations, the lower age classes being shepherded into a session called rhythms, where they perform various exercises to recorded music. Upon reaching the 4th grade, those students with music interest are given the opportunity to satisfy their curiosity and discover hands-on the mechanics of the instrument of their choice and make a decision to continue on to participate in the 5th and 6th grade orchestra. The final music contribution was dance. Mike's mother, along with volunteered help, instruct the high 6th grade class in the classic waltz, Virginia reel, and ballroom dancing. Mike's 4th grade school musical ambition was to play the French horn, but was told by the instructor he might first see if he could blow a cornet. After failing in his first attempt, he was handed a tonnet, a plastic toy appearing elongated instrument with finger holes, and told if he wanted to proceed with the band music class he would have to practice with it. After the 2nd class, he gave his notice that he had no desire to play a tonnet in an orchestra and dropped out of the class. Appearance was deceiving. There was no such thing as nap time in Mr. Hayden's 4th grade classroom, the class students having been asked to lay their heads down on folded arms at their desks. It was 10 o'clock and the weekly Standard Oil School radio broadcast was about to begin. The broadcast was an instructional music program introducing students to a symphony orchestra and its world of classical music. Apparently, Mr. Hayden in his wisdom thought that by laying one's head down would make the person more conducive and attentive to the broadcast. It was during this class time that a young Mike realized that his elicitation of what he believed to be the true meaning and scope of music was shared by others. Mr. Hayden confirming his music appreciation by sharing the standard school broadcast and during the program's absence, sharing his forte as an accomplished pianist performing requests from his students in the school's music room. It wasn't a piano, it was an entity, and it was now residing in Mike's family living room. There was some doubt if the piano would remain, something to do with ownership and family. But this didn't concern Mike, it was here. He had touched the piano once before when it sat at its original residence and it beckoned to him, and now he could give it voice and discover what it had to say. The upright had a name, Monarch, but those gazing upon it couldn't see the plaque hidden away inside that red, made by the House of Baldwin. He was truly impressed because Baldwin, Steinway and Sons, Bosendorfer were all renowned names of concertmaster quality. If only it could talk, it could relate an unimaginable number of stories it had experienced through the years. The young man, having found a friend, soon discovering that it could be descriptive in its discourse and he wouldn't be the only one sensing what it had to say. His newfound friend could emit every emotion from light-hearted happiness to largo despondency. It could paint an aria on its musical canvas, the oceans bellowing the song of the high seas, or a forlorn wagon train crossing the plains and the tapestry sound of a babbling brook on a hillside. This magical instrument knew no bounds, providing a means to transport one to unlimited horizons. The young man's discovering his fingers would effortlessly transfer his melodious mediation and emotion to the keyboard. His accompanying euphonious friends seemed to read his every thought and give them revelation. There were times he could sit and play at his discretion, and other times, because of family, were deemed not appropriate. He respected the restrictions when applied, and some weeks his total playing time was less than 90 minutes, but mostly because other adventures called. He was fortunate. There was an unlimited amount of musical resources at his command, his family having accumulated a large collection of 78 RPM recording which were at his disposal for immersions. His older cousin Bud O'Toole was a collector of extended play 78 RPM recordings of great classical compositions, which were left in Mike's possession while he was on active military duty. His mother's taste in music knew no bounds, but his dad's was a limited one, mainly country western. Mike's mom enjoyed the light classics, big band, and the pop music from the 30s and war years. The young man kept abreast of current recordings by radio with the Hit Parade and with the Bergie Music Box and Lucky Larger Dance Time. His younger sisters Kay and Nancy never encountered the musical affection that he had. Their predilection of music was something to listen to, not experience. Responsibilities and time limits prevailed when seated before the piano. Not everyone in the household shared his enthusiasm. His dad, when returning from work at 5 p.m., preferred the solitude of a quiet house. Thus the pianoforte ceased before 5 o'clock. With no formal training, and despising the term play by ear, Mike took it upon himself to learn the treble and bass clef scales, the time and key signatures, able to discern sheet music but not a sight reader. Returning home from school one day, the fifth grader was totally surprised when his mother asked if he wanted to take piano lessons. Visions of grandeur coming to mind, to journey down the same well-traveled road of Chopin, Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky. The first lessons was spent with hand position, finger crossover, rudimentary scales, an enlightenment of the basics which the youth had already acquired. The third lesson was one of sight reading right and left hand elementary melodies. The middle-aged instructor, somewhat at awe with her new student, before leaving placing a very simplistic arrangement of Home on the range in the key of G on the piano, instructing him to practice sight reading and not to memorize it. On her return the following week, Mike played Home on the Range, trying his best to stop a natural instinct to add progressions and flourishes that were not in the musical score, but to no avail. The piano teacher immediately arose, walked to where his mother was seated in the dining room, giving notice that she would no longer be available, emphasizing that the young man lacked the discipline to play the music as written. With his favorite radio programs with their enriched classical background music now a signpost of the past, and with the advent of a television's new personalities such as Korla Pandit and Liberace, both attempting to placate the past with classical heritage, Mike was very much aware of a transition. The popular standards of the 30s that were once still broadcasted were soon overshadowed by the hits of American Bandstand. As a youth he soon discovered discernment comes with age. Surprisingly, he never acquired a desire to memorize a lyric, finding he was not prejudicial but holding fast to a belief that lyrics were poetic works, whereas the euphonious rainbow performed by instrumentation was an illustrated canvas of interpretation and a symbiosis painted by the composer. And residing within the musical spectrum were the meaningful signatures of life.